recruiting, but they could just pull me over, or I go to the wrong town where they've got their guys. They could pull me over, shoot me, and just say, you know what, we're not releasing the squad car video. National security. They could say whatever they want. They could have me get on my knees, shoot me right in the back of the head. They could do it to you. They did it to Carnaby. Get out of the car, he gets out, boom, you're dead. Oops, helicopter caught that, went out live. Doesn't matter. You want close-up video? We're not going to release that. You know, I love how they always talk about the veterans, the system does, about how much they love them, how much they care about them, how great they are. But I've got an article here. Police get help with confronting veterans. Officer.com. And, yeah, they're training for their number one enemy, returning military. Oh, because these are people you just can't bully all day that'll actually break and respond. And the article actually says that more and more. The number one thing killing SWAT team members and others is trained military people. Yeah, they've actually been fighting men and people that are shooting back at them in some cases. It's not just raiding drug dealers that didn't pay their cut to you or whatever. And they're people that have already killed so many people and feel bad about it that they're ready to die. And so they're ready to sell their life for a bunch of you guys. What do you think's going to happen as they try the gun confiscation they're training the military and police for? What do you think's going to happen when 1% of the 10 million plus veterans fight back against you? Total devastation. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing the system can do. No amount of robots, drones, nothing will help you. And of course, the globalists have all this set up by design. They think they're going to have some cutesy civil war, and out of this problem, reaction, solution, everything will break down, then later we'll beg for total tyranny. I don't see that happening. And what's really creepy is in every place in the United States, every major city that we've spot checked, they're training for at least 5 years. The Explorer Scouts, we first learned about this from listeners, then it was in the New York Times, other publications. They're training 14 and 15-year-old boys to take on, quote, disgruntled veterans and kill them. People laugh, oh, we got some 14-year-olds. The first 14-year-olds to be trained are now 19. The point is, the criminals that have hijacked our government are training for absolute war against Americans. Now, I'm going to go through a bunch of news when we get back. Thailand backs Twitter censorship policy. And this is all part of the new treaty. Internet censorship, past and present. ACTA is worse than SOPA. Here's what you need to know about the global treaty. We'll break that down and a lot more straight ahead. Aaron Dykes, one of our investigative reporters here and a frequent host of InfoWars Nightly News, ran in there in the break and he said, you know how you're talking about how the government runs organized crime? Well, yeah, it's on record in so many testimonies and Congress, history. He said, don't forget Zbigniew Brzezinski, top globalist think tank leader. His book, Between Two Ages, I remember this being on the bookshelf at my parents' house. This book with this cover, I didn't read it when I was a kid. I just remember that cover. Between Two Ages, America's Role in the Technotronic Era. You notice the globalists call themselves technocrats. Okay, they've planned all of this. They've designed the technology with Trojan horses to control. You think the technology has the use that you're using it for. That's only the bait on the hook to get you to use Google, to get you to use the cell phone. It's designed as a tracking and taxing grid. Listen to what Brzezinski says. This is a guy who also wrote a book 2 years ago bragging that they created Al-Qaeda and that the U.S. government funded Pol Pot. Oh, just type in Zbigniew Brzezinski, Pol Pot quotes. And he's very proud that he helped finance them and they killed 30% of their population. That's why he's respected by globalists. The actual owners have awe at their master generals, their technocratic generals. And Zbigniew Brzezinski is one. So is Henry Kissinger. This is on page 6. A characteristic feature of concentrated humanity is the routinization of conflict. Direct violence becomes increasingly regulated and restricted and ultimately comes to be considered as a deviation from the norm. Organized mechanisms in the form of uniformed, salaried personnel are established to confine violence to socially tolerable limits. A certain measure of crime is accepted as unavoidable for the sake of order. Therefore, organized crime is generally preferred to anarchic violence, thus indirectly and informally becoming an extension of order. There you are, page 6. In fact, zoom in on that with a document cam shot for folks that are watching on Prisonplanet.tv. So you need to understand, I remember some documents we've covered came out, in the 70s in Chicago, that what we already knew was going on, that the police departments were regulating the crime and certifying different organized crime syndicates. Well, I mean, that's already known. Remember what happened, and there's so many examples of this, but remember J. Edgar Hoover in the early 1950s in testimony to Congress saying there's no such thing as organized crime, that it is a figment of crime reporters' imagination. Basically, they were conspiracy theorists. Now, why was that? Because J. Edgar Hoover, on record, lived a lifestyle of an incredibly rich person. J. Edgar Hoover was being paid off. J. Edgar Hoover was incredibly corrupt. The G-men were only there to shut down small syndicates that were involved in prohibition, running liquor, that weren't paying their cut. And if you go to Hot Springs, Arkansas, which became the main hub of creating Everclear or moonshine to be shipped all over the United States, at their little museums there in the city, the tour guides on record and the books that they sell from the Little Historical Society, it's all, the Rockefellers were there, the Capones, all of them, and the elite would all come there to get treated for syphilis and other things that they had from all their sexual activity. But that they would, produce the liquor there and then ship it by train all over the United States, and that the U.S. government was involved. But, of course, J. Edgar Hoover in the 1950s could sit there and tell the childlike public there is no such thing as organized crime. Now, you hear that today, and you're like, well, that's ridiculous. Everybody knows there's organized crime. Really? Hollywood teaches you that it's only the Italians or the Mexican mafia or, some Russian mob. Oh, really? The Russian mafia is the NKVD, the whole GRU, KGB apparatus that never went away. FSB. You can go look up the connections to that. Organized crime is only the black arm, the black op arm of government. Government itself a black op arm of the mega banks. So the child kidnapping rings, the drug dealing, all of it is banker run. Our country's everything. Grow up, folks. When the troops got mad about being told to grow the opium, the government just went public that they're growing the opium. I mean, that's how dumb they think you are. When a cop pulls you over and wants to search your car for drugs, he knows full well his bosses ship it all in. From 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central, we're here 5 nights a week, 7 o'clock Central, InfoWars Nightly News at prisonplanet.tv. Let me try to be a little more disciplined. Let me attempt, because I've only probably got 200 articles here in front of me. Every one of them I could spend 3 hours on. Here's CBS News out of Hercules. Where is Hercules? It says the Lupine Hills Elementary School in Hercules. In fact, I had this last night and didn't cover it because I meant to go do a search and find out where Hercules is first. I guess it's outside San Francisco. That's what it looks like. Yeah, it is. A East Bay dad claims a game of tag on the playground resulted in his 6-year-old son being accused of sexual assault. And the school, it goes on, says that touching someone on the leg is sexual assault, and he's now going to be listed as basically a sexual offender. and has been put in a database. Yeah, I see this all the time in the news, and they've got a local magazine called Busted, a weekly newspaper that comes out, and sometimes I'll buy it and look through it. Mainly it's DWI. Sometimes you see, urinating in public, sexual indecency. And I see the reports where people pull off on the highway now in the middle of nowhere, like we all did growing up, and you go in the bushes and the cops pull up and run over and say, what were you doing? And if you're honest, they go over and get samples and everything, put you in handcuffs and take you to jail because they've been ordered to. And when I was up at Bilderberg 2006 in Ottawa, Canada, in a suburb of it, the hotel was built out in a kind of defense contractor complex with like lakes and ponds and geese everywhere. It was well out. It was like 20 miles outside Ottawa or 15 miles outside. So it was big hotels and golf courses built in the countryside. And all there was this hotel, and then, a half mile away, a defense contractor building with barbed wire fences. So there was nowhere to go to the bathroom. And the cops were all ordered, sometimes more than 20 of them. So it was about 10 squad cars at any one time to be parked all around there. And I guess they didn't want to go through all the security procedures to go in to the Brooksfield Hotel to urinate. So they would all just go across the street to a field and woods and urinate. And, of course, the protesters over the 3 days were doing the same thing. So I'd talk to the police. Most of them are really, really nice. And I was like, in the U.S., they arrest us. And he goes, arrest you for going to the bathroom in the woods? He goes, yeah, I've heard that. I go, but I see you guys going over there. And he goes, well, what are we supposed to do? And I go, exactly. So are you going to arrest us for going over there? And he goes, no. That's ridiculous. See, in America is so sick. I hear about it all the time. I know business people and others who've been in national forest urinating up against a tree, and the ranger comes over and handcuffs them. We're being turned into totally domesticated creatures that live in a false environment. I said I'd discipline myself and cover 200 articles. Of course, it's not going to happen. Here is this CBS News out of Hercules, a suburb of San Francisco. And going back over a decade ago, they first banned dodgeball, everybody's favorite game. Then they banned tag, and they banned wrestling, and then they banned touching. Guys, people won't believe this. Search running at recess banned. There'll be hundreds of articles. That's been and running is now could be dangerous. You could fall down. You could skin your knee. And so they're banning running, and they were playing tag. And this child reportedly touched the other on the leg, tackling them. What now if a coach slaps you on the back or the good job, Oh, sexual assault, take him to jail. Meanwhile, DynCorp and Halliburton are in the Chicago Tribune, Associated Press. This is 5 years ago. But hundreds of articles you can pull up where they're on record with C-130s and women and children they've grabbed